Hey Bridget,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I am excellent, thanks very much. It's like, God, you're nice and prompt.
Oh, I like to be.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that is so good. How's your day been?
Good, busy, but
Yeah,
good. I finally got my laptop and stuff for work today, and I've just started a new role, so that's been very
yeah.
exciting.
What's your new role?
So I'm currently in a graduate program where you do 3 different rotations, and this is my third and last rotation, and I'm a policy
Yeah,
officer at the Office of the Secretary at Customer Service. So it's very exciting.
it is. It's pretty cool. In fact, I dare
Yeah.
say, if anything, I just left. I was recently working at New South Wales Treasury, and so I met several graduates coming through the program, and those who have finished the program, perhaps more importantly. And they had awesome things to say and really said they had a brilliant experience as well. So, yeah, so if you're in your third rotation, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and both like 3 very different rotations. So it's been, I think I've got the best out of the program in that way, I guess.
Yeah. Where were your previous two?
I was at Service New South Wales to begin with, and then I went to Crown Lands. So all very different, which
Mm,
is good.
yes, they are. Yeah. Wow. So okay. No, it's too early. It's too early for me to ask you which you prefer so far. So we'll leave it at that. I'll say, based on where you are now, where would you want to end up? Which sort of department would you want to be in?
Well, I'm like my main department that I'll kind of be with at the end is customer service, and I love it. Like I think I've become really passionate about it and Service New South Wales.
Mm,
So I think I'm keen to
yeah,
stay there.
in service. It's good. It's an amazing journey that they've been on in service, I guess. I know that's not what we're going to be chatting just about, but still, it is. I think it is quite cool. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
definitely. Yeah, and I'm glad that we have finally managed to catch up. It's been a while coming with but how are you feeling after COVID?
I'm doing okay, but occasionally it might hit me randomly, like a bit of fatigue. I was still getting coughing fits, which is not ideal, but
No,
improving.
no. Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, thank you for making the time.
That's all right.
Really appreciate it, and certainly it is good just to catch up with you to chat a bit about Second Wind, what I'm trying to do, but perhaps just as importantly to understand you and sort of your story, which on paper reads pretty cool. So yeah, it would be great to hear a little bit more. I guess.
Yeah, I guess I can start where I started in my sport and career is
Yeah.
I actually grew up in a regional town in Albury, which is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria.
Mhm.
Um, and water polo is actually randomly quite popular there. Um, so it was kind of a natural, yeah, really random. I think there's just a big group of passionate people and passionate clubs, and it's kind of quite, I don't know, it's kind of like a family, the clubs down there, and was kind of the natural thing to do from swimming if you didn't enjoy swimming, but you wanted to keep being in the pool. So I started that quite young at like 11. And I picked it up really fast. And eventually at 12 made my first state team, younger. And initially I was with Victoria, and then I moved to playing for New South Wales despite me being in New South Wales, but we were just this awkward on the border kind of team.
Okay.
Yeah. And my under 14s team actually won nationals, and that's kind of where I got exposed to everything. We was out there, beat all the big cities teams. So I think that exposed me quite young to a lot of the
Yeah.
experiences. And fast forward a few years, I actually made my first National League team, which is like the professional league for water polo. And that was actually in Melbourne. But I was still going to
Okay.
school in Albury, which is like 4 hour train
Wow.
ride away.
Yeah.
So what I used to do is go to school Monday or Tuesday and then spend the rest of the week in Melbourne, just playing and
Okay.
training. So juggling my sport and school from a very young age, and kind of, I don't know, my parents would just put me on the train and send me off. So I matured very quickly from that. But it was, sorry, you go.
I was going to say, yeah. So when was it? What age? Or what year was that in school?
Year 11 is when I started. So still quite young. End of year 10, start of year 11. And I got there and there were some amazing players in the team, including we had one Olympian at the time, and I was like the biggest fangirl when I got there. So, and getting to actually play, like I didn't play that much in my first season, but as a goalkeeper at that age, it's quite scary, I would say. And while doing that, I was starting to make a lot of Australian junior teams and squads. So kind of all hit me very quickly. I'm also 6 foot. So I think at that age, it makes you a lot better than everyone else.
It certainly does.
Yeah. So that was me as a junior. And like I said, it made things very difficult from the beginning, financially, mentally, everything. And then,
I mean,
sorry.
At school, so you're trying to balance school with what is, with you certainly as a high potential water polo player, right? And so not only just for you, how was that for your parents then?
I think it was difficult for them because they knew how much school meant to me, and like my whole life, just very competitive and everything, I guess. But for me, I was very high achieving at school. So I think it was kind of difficult for them to watch me struggle through that, maybe not getting 100% in an essay or something. I think just kind of what that would do to me, I think watching them, but they were always like, whatever you want to do, we'll support it. And they knew that's my kind of goal at the time was water polo. And I thought, it sounds terrible, but I figured I can get through school regardless. I can do what I want to do. I kind of felt confident in that.
Well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, so it seems like you did get through school.
Yeah, I did. I ended up surprisingly doing very well. And in my HSC year, I actually went to Europe with the Australian junior team. So I had a month off school before our HSC exams, which was not easy. And I was actually doing drama, which you need to do a performance, like a group performance, and a month off your group was not great. But yeah.
How did you manage that?
My family's amazing and I have very smart siblings, and a lot of the time I'd say they just taught me most of school, and my teachers in school were like the most supportive things ever. Like they knew I could kind of self-learn a lot of stuff and they would just provide me with the materials. And honestly, I don't know, I've basically taught myself most of year 12, I would say.
But it's good. I guess there's a learning, that ability or that desire to learn is actually quite powerful for you then.
Yeah, and I think it made going to university so easy because I was like, oh, I've been looking after myself already. Like I've already been quite self-motivated in my learning before university.
It's just fascinating to hear you say that about, from you being an athlete, and clearly there's a lot of independence that you have to take in your story, getting on the train very early and being selected to go overseas in an HSC year. But then it sounds like managing your time is something that became quite important, or you needed to figure out early in order to be able to manage this dual sport and school progression.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I don't know, I think it almost came natural to me in that sort of sense. But again, I think it's my family as well. We're very big on like, how are we going to do this? Let's sit down, help me write a schedule. Or I was in the VIS at the time and I had support there on, they kind of helped me with things like that, like scheduling and stuff. So that was amazing. But yeah, I guess sometimes I just think I just pushed through and eventually got through, but I did it. Yeah.
So then, so from sport, that kept going university back in. Where did you go? What did you decide to do?
So the day after my last exam, I actually moved to Sydney with a close friend from Albury that was also doing water polo. and I moved to the New South Wales Institute of Sport and started playing nationally for the University of Sydney. And that's where I was intending on studying, which I did. So that was kind of very helpful kind of going over, because they would support me in my study a lot. And the end of my HSC was also our world championships, so our junior world champs, which we didn't end up performing that well, which was quite disappointing. And we had a really strong team. So I think that was a lesson to be learned. Like, we'd basically just spent 3 years together for this one event, and we came ninth, and we probably would have, I don't know, I think going in we were hoping for a medal. I guess everyone is, but
so what happened? Why didn't you get the medal?
I don't know. I think there was a lot of pressure on us. Maybe we had I don't know, it could have been a mixture of things. There was a big build up to it. Sometimes we had a tough pool, I would say. The 2 teams in our pool ended up being in the top 4. So that probably was a big reason, but I don't know. I can't really put it down to anything, I guess.
No. But okay, all right. But so how did you take that then? How did that feel? You know, you just done your HSCs, you then go to the World Champs, something you've been working on for 3 years. You're moving to Sydney, you're joining a new team. How did you pick yourself up?
I think initially it was quite hard, because it was like, I guess it's sport, you train all this time for this one event, and our coaches were disappointed. I felt bad, like the amount of money my parents had just spent on me, which is ridiculous. We all had to self-fund our trips to Europe, which was ridiculous, a lot of money. But yeah, I had this feeling of guilt and time that I wasted. Luckily, I got my HSC results while I was at World Champs, and I did very well somehow. So it was a bit of trying to switch my focus into thinking about other stuff and thinking about school, which I think's helped me along the way. Having both of them at the same time, when one isn't going great, you can kind of look forward to the other. But I think knowing that I was going to National League in a new club was so exciting. And there was quite a few Olympians in the team. And the coach was actually my childhood hero at Sydney University. So I watched her play at the Olympics, and that's kind of what made me want to play water polo. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did she know that?
I think so. I think she knew I looked up to her a lot. She's a goalie. I guess she kind of figured that. But yeah, so I think that really helped. And the New South Wales Institute of Sport was amazing. My junior coaches were there as the head coaches at the Institute of Sport. So that kind of made it a seamless transition. And I really took to Sydney quite naturally. I think I was always born to be in the city. So that was easy. And we won National League my first season at Sydney University, which was also amazing. But yeah, and then after that, I started making senior Australian squads. So that kind of gave me something else to focus on, which I think is the hardest thing. You come out of your junior world champs, and it seems like such a big gap between juniors and seniors.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you bridged that gap. What is it that you did to help bridge that gap?
I think I made the decision to go to a National League club, maybe where I wasn't going to be played initially, but it had an amazing goalkeeper and mentor that was ahead of me. And I think kind of stepping down from being a starting goalkeeper in Melbourne to being a second goalie in Sydney was probably one of the best decisions I made, because she could give me advice on the level I needed to be at mentally and physically. But yeah, I think that was probably the best thing. But I guess it didn't last too long, my senior squad kind of career, because I got injured quite badly. So that
in what way?
I tore a ligament in my elbow, which as a goalkeeper, that's really difficult to kind of recover from. So again, another little hurdle as everything was going great. And then I struggled a little bit in my next season with National League. I kind of came back to the Australian squad straight after my injury again and financially I was really struggling because I guess the nature of being an elite athlete and studying, and I had to live away from home, unlike a lot of other people. So I made the decision to step away from a lot of my commitments with the national team. And I knew at the time, like I wasn't going to make the actual team. It wasn't that scary to step away, but I thought it was the best thing to do, which I'm glad I did. At the time, it was probably the best thing and most mature thing to do. I just wasn't enjoying water polo.
Why did you think you weren't enjoying water polo?
I think I was focusing on playing maybe for my head coach, or playing to look a certain way instead of just going back to enjoying it and being competitive. I think, and maybe I wasn't in the best team environment in my national league team at the time. We'd had a change of coaches and I just wasn't that happy. And I think it was a mixture of things. And then it started reflecting in the way I was playing as well. So I decided the best thing to do was kind of step back and kind of just focus on national league rather than having all these other outside factors coming at me. Right. And at that time, as I was sitting there wondering what to do with my water polo, I actually got a call from Arizona State University asking if I wanted to do a season playing over there.
I was wondering where this was going to come in.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, it actually was like the perfect timing. It was this moment of, what am I doing with my life? I don't know what I want to do necessarily, even with my degree. I was doing politics and international relations, but I kind of didn't have a clear path on what I wanted to do. So the call, I was actually like, this is the best timing ever.
Well, what I was going to do, I just wanted to know then, how did you pick that subject? How did you pick politics and international relations?
Well, I kind of was one of those people that loved everything at school. I enjoyed everything and kind of excelled academically in a very wide range of random subjects. But I loved writing. Maybe not necessarily my best subject, but I just adored it, and researching. And I actually went to an open day at Melbourne Uni, even though I wasn't going to Melbourne Uni, and I heard a politics professor speak, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is actually a degree. Like, I can make a difference in this world. I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but it sounded so cool. And I just was like, you know what, I'm going to study what I love rather than thinking about the actual job at the end of it. And that's kind of what I decided to do.
Yeah. I guess that has similarities there with your attitude to the sport as well, to water polo. You're doing it because you love it. There's that passion. So you then get this random call.
Yeah. And it was like the perfect timing. I was just not happy. I was struggling financially and they were offering me a full ride. So I was like, cool, I don't have to pay for accommodation. That was a rent. And I'd just been away I got a call up after a bit of a break to go to Japan with the Australian B senior team. So it's like kind of like a reserve Australian team. And I actually really enjoyed that. And I was thinking like, I do want to get back into this a bit more seriously. So I went to Arizona and I loved it. The coach there was actually a goalkeeper. And so it was an amazing experience, and getting to play against a lot of international players. America's obviously wins gold medals, so they've got some amazing players to play against. And it was just it genuinely made me love water polo again. And I came back and just changed my whole life afterwards.
In what way did you change your whole life?
I moved clubs. I started playing at Des Moines water polo, and I would say that's probably the best decision I ever made in my life. And again, sounds a bit cheesy, but they've become like my second family, and especially away from home. And it was just such a supportive environment that put like our mental health first, and our team connection before anything else. And like, I think that's what's made us a successful team now. I did that. I moved. I started thinking I'm going to start focusing on my career, started applying for some internships. And while that was happening, I was still doing NSWIS, and I still had some Australian like uni game camps to go to.
Yeah.
Um,
Where are we in the? I guess thinking about you doing some national activity. Where are we in terms of the road to, say, Tokyo?
I would say, like, say at NSWIS, I was training with the girls that obviously ended up going to Tokyo, the senior
Yeah.
NSWIS girls, and training more. There was like I said, like a university games team, which was kind of ended up being like a BOS team, which I didn't end up making because I was probably not physically in the right position after America, I would say. I felt best
Yeah.
technical mentally ever, but probably not physically
Right.
in the best place. So I didn't make that team, but I decided to kind of continue on with NSWIS,
Yeah.
committing to waking up at 4 a.m. And I would train, I kind of help out the Olympic girls that were training at NSWIS. I'd stick around and train with them,
Yeah.
which kind of made it more fun. I was just training with them because I wanted to, not because I was trying to make a team, if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. It really does. And so I suppose, you talk about that changing your lifestyle, your career, wanting to focus a bit more on, really you have a dual career. You focus more on the other side, the more traditional, the bit that's beyond sport. What shifted? Because you're still waking up at 4 a.m. You were still training with the same sort of ladies. So what was different?
Um, I think I was doing it for myself. I was training for myself. I was thinking about something as little as doing my technique wasn't the technique because that's what my national coach wanted to do. It was the technique that I felt most confident in and I believed was the best technique for a goalkeeper. And I just basically switched it all. I'm playing for myself and I'm playing for my club that I loved being at. And I basically turned going to NSWIS to I'm going to be better for my national league team. And
Yeah.
it was an amazing
Yeah.
switch. And I think we had a really positive environment going on while I was there as well. I think it was different when I came back from America, but I guess, and I think I was doing better at school. I'd kind of decided like at uni to kind of put more focus into that as well.
Yeah. And what was different about your appreciation of sport coming back from America?
Um, I think I appreciated maybe some mentors that I had and connections in the sport. Like I realized how important the people that maybe stuck with me while I was away and changing clubs. I realized how important those people were in my life, and I wouldn't have them without the water polo. And they were helping me as a person, not just water polo, I guess.
Not just an athlete, you became a
Yeah,
person. So,
yeah, definitely.
so yeah. So about the career, you made a decision to focus a bit more on the studies. You made a decision to focus on a career. What does that mean? What do you do?
I
Did you
think I
start wearing a tie?
I think I started thinking about, I was like, I love my degree. I love what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm the smartest in the room. I don't know what career I'm going to get out of this. Like, I had no idea what career actually existed out there. So that was a lot of, I started researching the different things I could be doing and
How did you do that?
um basically Googling everything and going on LinkedIn and finding out what people do. Because I didn't really have any connections with anyone. Like I said, my family comes from the country. I didn't have, I don't know, I knew a lot of people from school that had all these political connections and I didn't have any of that. So it was a bit harder for me to kind of find that out. But I actually went to the university and they had an internship going up at New South Wales Parliament. And that was the biggest switch for me in anything. I applied for that. And I actually told the Institute of Sport, if I get this internship, I think I'm going to retire from playing national team or Institute of Sport stuff because this is what I want to do. It sounds amazing.
Wow, that took a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah, it was scary. Like I said before, this feeling of guilt of the amount of money that my family, the amount of money I'd been doing, the life I had to live, the parties I didn't get to go to, or I maybe didn't necessarily live the university experience that I wanted to. The school that I'd given up in the past. And so it was really scary, but I'd known these coaches since I was 15 and they were amazing and excited for me more than anything. And so I got the internship and I quit NSWIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on getting the internship and having that decision. What was the reaction, by the way? So you were scared going into this, like this can be the end of the world, people are going to be hating you. So you told them, you told the family. What was the reaction?
They were excited. They were like, they're obviously like, oh, this is going to be sad not having you around, but they just were so happy because they were like, we've got to see you grow up as a person. And they were like, this sounds amazing. And they could just see the passion on my face when I would talk about what I was going to do. And yeah, like I said, it was actually the relief of how nice they were about it and everything. So it was good.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. It's great that they appreciated you so much that they were able to see what was good for you, right?
Yeah.
And were able to support you through the journey.
Yeah. A long journey.
I'm looking at it, I'm thinking the journey's only just started. This is just the beginning, definitely. Now you did the internship, so you're still playing today, and how are you balancing what is a excellent emerging career in the public sector and still being a goalkeeper? What's happening there?
Well, actually, my coach currently at Des Moines Water Polo, he kind of went through a similar thing. He was at maybe a similar kind of level to me, like on that verge of Oz stuff. And then he also has a professional career. So I actually use him as a bit of a mentor and talking to, and he's really understanding if I'm like, I'm going to be late to training tonight, I'm stuck at a work meeting or etc. I can't do a morning session. And so he's been amazing. And even coming to him for advice and being like, what should I do? I'm exhausted, or should I miss this session? Or which I'd never miss a session. I'm not very good at that. But yeah, so I think that's honestly been the best thing, is he's been a really good mentor for me. And being able to see him juggle it, I was like, I can do this. And now I kind of, again, I get to, who wouldn't want to hang out with their best friends 4 times a week and use that as exercise instead of going to the gym by themselves? But yeah, that's how I kind of look at it. And I'm too competitive to play a lower level of water polo. I know it. I was like, it will be a slow transition, but as soon as I get in the pool, I'm like, no, I have to be playing the highest level I can.
Yeah. And I think, as I've spoken to the various athletes, that little bit has always remained, which is, well, I want to play the best I can, at the best level that I can commit to, and therefore probably still continue to make certain sacrifices in order to make that happen. Do you find are you still thinking, hey, maybe I can't do this in order to keep my training going?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Like there's little things like catching up with people after work. I can't do that during the week. I'm obviously training, or weekends, or I turn up to work exhausted, especially now coming back from COVID and going back in. But it's hard. It's hard finishing a 5-day tournament and then going to work on Monday, and trying to get my brain focused to that. Or as a goalie, it's quite easy to get a concussion. So I guess there's that fear in the back of my head. I'll get hit with the head and then I have to work tomorrow. Like little things like that, I think, always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I'm thinking getting hit in the head. Hold on, what's that about? Like I said, one of my or 2 of my boys are playing water polo, and one of them has been a goalkeeper in football, and now he's getting into the pool in water polo. So it sounds like I should be telling him, don't go and goal. Don't be the goalkeeper. You're going to get concussion.
I mean, there's the risk of it, but there's also the risk of getting kicked or punched in the head, I guess, in the field. So I say
I'm okay with.
Yeah, I get to choose if I get concussed or not. I can move out of the way and let the goal in.
Oh, wow. You can't have your teammates hearing that. What do you mean she chooses? No, do or die.
Yeah, no, I'll get concussed instead of letting it in. But there's little things like that. But I think with COVID happening, it also made me really grateful for it. I think realizing having something outside of work is so important. And a lot of my friends that have just joined full-time work at the similar age are really struggling with that. They're like, oh, I work from home all day and then do nothing. Like I'm just still home. Like, while me, I'm like, oh, I've got to quickly go to training after work. I get to go outside. I get to socialize, be with my friends while I'm at training. And I think it's been really important for me post-COVID times, I guess, or COVID times.
Or in COVID times, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so thinking about your professional career, right? You know, the public service side, but the professional career. Now, in water polo, you were doing that from a young age. You were swimming, then from 11, you moved into water polo, became a great part of your life. There's a lot of training involved, a lot of independence. It took you overseas. Now, as you shift, excuse me, sorry. Now, as you get that balance between managing this dual career between water polo and your professional work, what's your mindset as you go into that professional work? Do you see yourself at age 11 and you now need to work all that way up to make it through the ranks? Is it how similar is the feeling?
I guess I'm quite, again, competitive in my workforce, and going through this grad program, they've got a big focus on, I guess, building the grads that come in. They want them to move quickly. And I see a lot of other people in previous grad programs move up the ranks quite fast. And I'm ambitious, I think, definitely. I see it like that. And I've always said I'm going to keep playing water polo while I can until I can't with work. Like, obviously, if I get to a point where I can't, if I'm going up the ranks, like you say. But I think what I've learned probably in my last 12 months of being in the public sector is moving sideways and enjoying what you do sometimes might be more important than moving up the ranks super fast. As what should I say? Maybe that's probably the difference with sport. While there was always about where can I go next, I've seen a lot of people just enjoy their jobs and enjoy the balance it kind of brings in their life being in the public sector, probably.
And would you say then, I listened to you the way you talk about your current water polo, where you move from one club to another, you move sideways in that regard. And it sounds to me like that was for enjoyment. That was because you refound this passion for playing the sport, and you described something similar in that work environment. Do you think you've got, is that a true reflection?
Yeah, I think definitely. And I think I'm going to follow kind of, like you say, the ranks or going up levels in work based on what work I want to do. I think if I'm more capable of doing something, and I'm going to get more enjoyment out of it. Again, it's like playing water polo. I want to play at the highest level I possibly can. I think same with work. If I'm capable of doing something that's a bit more difficult, I want to do it. In that regard.
That's brilliant, and I would say that's a great attitude to bring into it. So I've got to ask. So you ended up being quite a specialist. I'll say a specialist position. Goalkeepers are always specialist positions in every sport. I'm assuming it's the same in water polo. And when I think about that from a professional career perspective, do you think there's a similarity? Do you want to be the person in the red cap and everyone else is in yellow? Is that? Do you want to have that uniqueness?
I think yes and no. While I was at uni, I actually studied gender and culture studies along with my degree. And I think there is maybe some more niche roles that I could fit into in terms of looking at gender and politics as well. Yeah, so I guess I'm not afraid to be different in what I do, or being in a role that might be different to a lot of other people. Yeah, so maybe. I like being a specialist kind of role in water polo because it means I've got a lot of knowledge to share, and you kind of have a responsibility to share it because there's not as many people to give that to other people. So I do feel that with my role.
Wow, that's actually quite poetic. Quite like that. Yeah, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that one. I'll quote you if it's okay. So, yeah. There. Well, look, that's great. When you look back on, I guess, the activity that you did, getting on the train, doing extra training, getting up at 4 a.m. As you look back at that amount of focus, did you sacrifice? Are there things in there that you sacrificed that you regret not having experienced?
I think no, because you can always socialize when you're 90, but you can't play water polo when you're 90. That's kind of how I looked at it. And yeah, there was times I wish I was like, oh, I could have the most amazing uni marks if I started focusing in my first year rather than my third year. But it's got me where I wanted to be. I think I got more benefit out of my sport than an extra 5 marks on my like average mark, I guess. Like there was more benefit in doing what I was doing. And I look back now and I'm like, I have no idea how I did that. I could never do it again. And I actually ended up at one point getting viral fatigue just from the amount of work, training, uni. So it was probably, maybe I regret missing out on some sleep. But otherwise, I don't know, I feel fulfilled, and my friends and family, they supported me along the whole way. So I don't think I missed out on anything.
No, great. So what's next?
Well, Des Moines water polo, we're gonna win nationally. That's the big plan in water polo. Should be amazing, especially like I said, this team's been building for a few years. I feel like I'm probably playing some of the best water polo in my life, despite not being very fit or strong, but I'm enjoying it. I feel so connected to the team and what our coaching staff has created. So that would be the biggest thing, us winning, me playing well. And work, I guess, looking into what my ongoing role is going to be after this rotation. Don't want to look too far ahead. We get an ongoing role with the graduate program if we follow everything through. But like you said, again, I'm quite ambitious. I want to make sure I get the role I want. But yeah, I just want to keep going, keeping that balance, because right now I'm probably at the most balance. I finally found the sweet spot, I would say.
Yeah. It takes a while to find it at times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I think that's really nice to hear, for you being, feeling in a balanced position, being able to enjoy that career and enjoy sport. You just said something that's really interesting, and I was going to pick up on it to do with sport, but you mentioned it in relation to work, which is you don't want to look too far ahead. Right? So why is that?
I think, I don't know, when I was younger, we were always told like, oh, it has to be, if your top goal isn't going to the Olympics, it kind of devalued your other goals a little bit. Like, why are you even here if that's not a clear goal in your head? And I don't think that was necessarily the best thing. Kind of put more pressure into everything you're doing, and focusing maybe on smaller goals, and whether that be 6 monthly or yearly, monthly, I think it's been more effective for me. And I think that's what I kind of want to bring into my career a little bit, rather than going, I want to be prime minister or premier. I'd rather look at things slowly.
Yeah, wonderful. Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, I know that today you've got training. So I'm catching between job and training. So I really don't want to keep you too long, but I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been great. Thanks for sharing.
That's right. I'm happy to share it and maybe help an experience. Like, I know there's a lot of other regional kids out there that are struggling, maybe not as financially well off as I was, to be able to do the experience that I had. But yeah, I guess my kind of thing is I hope it's easier for people, is my wish in the future for regional kids.
Well, thank you for that, because the idea of what I'm trying to pull together here through Second Wind is by having people like yourself share your story. Nothing nothing ridiculously crazy, but one that other people can relate to. They can listen to it and think, oh, well, in the same way that you had excellent mentors throughout your playing career, your current career, your in the public service, I think, you know, you to me through this conversation can demonstrate that you could be one of those types of mentors for that next generation coming through, and that for me is really powerful, and I love a good story, and hearing your story is a good story, and I think that can really help empower and inspire that next generation. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, and I hope, like I said, if I can help one regional person feel inspired that they can do it, or I have a younger goalie with me at my current club, and seeing her succeed is much more satisfying than seeing me succeed sometimes. Yeah.
That's brilliant. You're getting ready to be a coach in work and in sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think my coaching career is ending in water polo. That was how I stayed financially afloat. But I'm just enjoying it and volunteering now and looking after, mentoring the younger goalies, which I love. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Really, really good to hear that. Thank you for doing that. I think, like I say, you will. Great story. I think you've got a great perspective in terms of what you're doing and sort of where's next. You're not thinking too far ahead, which is wonderful. And you know, like I say, maintaining that balance, which is what you found that you're at that point now. It's how do you maintain that as you go forward, so sport continues to be a great release or a great way for you to operate. It's wonderful. I love sport.
Yeah, me too.
I
don't know if I'd even have gotten my role without it. That's what I always, it's a little thing to add to your resume that people get excited about and see it as important.
Why do you think that's right?
Well, I used like public sector use a lot of situational examples in their interviews. And I probably use water polo for every example. It just fit perfectly every time. And I actually, when I met with my manager, it was like on the notes written down from HR, like water polo player. So I would say it kind of makes you stand out. And the grad program that I'm in, 6,000 people apply for on my year. And I guess you've got to stand out somehow. So I guess I'm grateful for water polo. It probably made me stand out.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely right. I'm sure it did. I probably also believe that you would have interviewed really well and really confident as well. So I would say that all that helped, but the water polo centre is a good clicker as well. Yeah. I've got a random question for you.
Yeah.
To close. Very random, in fact. So I usually say kick off for football. So I said, boys, what time do you kick off? And they can tell me what time they kick off. So what do I ask them for water polo? What time do we start?
I think there's not too much water polo lingo. There's probably people out there that know. The whistle goes, I guess. There's a whistle, but
okay. So
I don't know. I would just say the swim off. I mean, swim off's the start of the game. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listen, do me a favor. Ask tonight as you get to training and say, right, we had to be here at 7 o'clock. I guess that's the start of training, so that's different. But when you say the game, just listen, what do they say, and ask, and just drop me a note and let me know what people said. Okay. Yeah. All right. We've been struggling, but now I'm going to start with swim off. I'm going to try that right now and say, hey, what time do you swim off on Saturday? Let's see if you respond. Bridget said that's what it is.
Well, I guess the goalies aren't swimming, so maybe the goalie, your son that's a goalie, might not react to that. We're just
I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's it. Fantastic. Well, look, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you again for making the time. And I'll certainly be in touch and let you know what we're doing when the podcast is coming out. And there'll be a short bit. I'll connect with you and we'll figure a few bits out from there. But this is awesome.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to reach out to you.
More than welcome. All right.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Take care. Bye.